you. What's up, weirdos? What's going on, guys? Another day, another 115K. Let's get it, baby. Let's get it. Let's get that Bitcoin chart up on the screen. See what's going on out there, baby. All right, just a hair below the 100-day moving average, $115,285. Can we get above and close above not only the 100-day but the 30-day moving averages as well on the daily time frame? That's what we're going to be paying attention to, my friends. All right, let's get into the super chats. What do we got, Jeffrey? Thank you so much, brother. I appreciate you. Tola dropping that cheddar as well. Love it, man. Love it. Thank you so much. Ramona in the house. Only 40 likes. We can do better, people. Happy Monday. Yes. What do we have? 132 people watching. We have 50 likes. Let's get those up, guys. Let's get to 100. Absolutely. Absolutely. Big Kev, what's up, buddy? Thanks, Rob. Let's Pico up 12%. Yes, Pico is climbing today. It is time for a big green candle. CBS did a report that things are going down. I think that means things are going to start pumping. Yes, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Could not agree more. Oh, you were not expecting generosity and gifts showering down on you from D's Nuts on a morning like this, but you're going to get double the gifts from Double D's Nuts. Absolutely, guys. Thank you so much, D's Nuts, for your generosity as always. Guys, make sure you show your undying gratitude and loyalty to D's Nuts while she gifts out these memberships. All right, let's get into the chat a little bit. Ditto. What's up, my guy? First Pokemon of the day, H. Barbarina in the hizzy. What's going on? William, good to see you, brother. Robin, hey, Rob, ETH is moving. Yes, ETH is up. What are we at with ETH? Where is Ethereum? Why can't I see Ethereum? That is so weird. Is it even? Oh, it's up 2.2%. Not too bad, man. Not too bad. Jake the Snake. No red rocket, only green dildos. Let's go. LFG and Pico, let's go. Absolutely. Yes, Pico is doing a nice little climb today. We are up 12% on the day so far. Let's get it, baby. Absolutely. Okay, let's get back to the chat. Got William, ETH. What's going on, guys? Ty, what's going on, buddy? Danny's a sissy bear. He says the Bulls are coming. The Bulls agree. The Bulls are coming. Can you feel the ground shake beneath you? Absolutely. Kizza, what's up, my dude? Hey, Rob, may put a little ZBEC on an exchange ready for possible pump and then pullback. Let me have a look. I mean, first thing ZBEC has to do is get back above resistance, which is currently sitting at about 20424. So we got to get above that. I would wait for confirmation of a close above that resistance, and then if we do get that daily close above 20424, I think we could make another attempt at 2047. But we'll see what time holds, right? Big Mike's always got my back. Thank you so much, brother. He says, buy Pico before it hits the exchanges. Yes, guys, this is your opportunity to get in on it before it gets listed everywhere. And there are applications in place for listings. If you're not in when it gets listed, you're going to look back and go, man, why didn't I hold at least a little bit of it, right? So, yeah. What else do we have? Quentin, good to see you, brother. Good to see you, my guy. Joy, happy Monday, Rob. Hey, everyone, hit the likes. Dapper Rob, always dropping good content. Yes, Monday is my favorite day of the week, as many of you know. So absolutely, hit the likes if you love Mondays. Hit the likes if you don't like Mondays. Right? Oh, House says, I finally sat down and added my deposits versus what I have in crypto. As of today, I'm down 9K. I think it's best to just sit on my hands. No likes equals no bull run. Exactly. Hey, that's not a bad strategy, man. That's not a bad strategy when you're feeling that way. You know, it never hurts to take a step back and just kind of chill out and sit on your hands, right? You're not hurting nobody by doing that. You're not missing out on anything. Candyman says kale is a green that is so versatile, it literally fits into any size trash can. So I got to use that one on the wife. Man. That's good. It's always trying to get me to eat vegetables and stuff. Quentin says $100. We're going to 97. I see what you did there. A guy. Hey, Robin, Crypto Fam. It was a nice week and weekend to be out touching grass. Yes, absolutely. And I did some buying. I got to do a little bit more buying this morning as well. I'm not done yet, guys. I am not done yet. So keep an eye out for my buy alerts once again over on the Patreon. Attila, another 1.8 million XCN. Nice. There's a nice bag right there, my friend. That's what I like to see. Robin, hey, Rob, has anything changed in your confidence for Bitcoin top 150 to 180? Nope, nothing has changed there. Absolutely not. Ramona says, hit the likes for Rob's excellent fashion choices. I'm trying to be dapper. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Ramona. I appreciate you. Okay, where are we here, guys? Make sure you're hitting the like and subscribe. What do we got? 178 people watching. We have 75 likes. Let's get those likes up, guys. 25 more. Let's get it to 100. We got a lot of news to get into. Cryptus, what's going on? Good to see you. Ray, what's happening, buddy? I don't know. I know I didn't panic sell. I bought a little more yesterday. Nice. There you go. Being in the Patreon, you learn a lot. Thank you, Rob. Smash the likes. Absolutely, yes. Sometimes people forget what they're actually paying for over on the Patreon, and it is an education at the end of the day, right? It is an education. It's to gain you experience. It's so that you can learn from somebody who's been through multiple cycles, right? And some people lose sight of that, I guess. I don't know. Not you, Ray. You're the man. You're the man, brother. Beebs, what's up, brother? Good to see you. Rob, what do you think of Project 00? I don't know enough about it yet, to be honest with you, to really formulate an opinion. I know it had a big run up. It's only like a week old, though. So, Ramona, gifting out some memberships, guys. Make sure that you thank Ramona for the gifted membership if you did receive one. Thank you so much, Ramona. Thank you. Beebs, good morning, Rob, a Crypto Future Family. Blueprint Millionaires, let's go. Oh, house. I will say I may have lost, but I've learned so much. Next 2 bull runs, financial freedom. There you go. Beebs, I was on vacation last week, and I spent more money DCAing Friday and Saturday than my whole vacation. Nice. That's the way it's got to be, man. Invest in your future. Brandon, what's going on, man? God bless you too, my friend. EZ says, what's up, Chicken Boy, Sissy Bear, Pencil Necks, Weirdos? What's going on? Jesse and James, what's up, Rob? Thanks to your coaching me along the way. I actually felt at peace over the Friday crash. There you go. Yeah, it was kind of exciting if you can control your emotions. Exactly. Big John, let's go. Zebek has me feeling excited. Yes, Zebek. I did a detailed breakdown of Zebek as a company in yesterday's video. Hopefully you guys caught that. I did that one for my guy Andy. What a life. Gratitude, Rob, and Crypto Future Patreon fan. Braveheart, absolutely. Motives. I'm feeling bullish. There you go. YouTube Crypto Future Family too. Lions Den, what's up? Sissy Bears Unite. AF says, hello, brother. Thanks a lot for looking after the community. We trust you, brother. Strongly recommend everyone join the Patreon. Absolutely, man. Milk Money says, hit the likes, not the nuts. Oh, how seriously. Thank you, Rob. And tell someone to rub Pico's belly. Absolutely. Beebs, nobody saw this macro manipulation coming. Only the insiders. Motive says, thoughts on Litecoin and the ETF. I think that it's inevitable that Litecoin will see a spot ETF approval because it falls exactly the same way that Bitcoin does in that aspect. So, yeah, it's inevitable, and I think it'll be very beneficial for the Litecoin community. Though I do not hold any Litecoin, and I'm not interested in buying any Litecoin, I do think that the Litecoin community is going to benefit substantially from a spot ETF approval, which I think will happen. P Money, hey Rob, do you believe ETH is making a move in the coming weeks? Oh yeah, yes I do. Hey Zeus, hey Rob, how are you? Anything on Noise? No, I haven't had a chance to look deeper into it. I did look at it in a live stream, I think yesterday though. I mean, it's as good as your average meme coin, right? It'll have a nice run, and then it'll level off. It'll have a nice community. Doug, what's going on, buddy? Funky says, pick me up some Swift this morning. Nice, there you go. Milk Money, hope everyone's having a good Monday. Carl, cup of coffee, let's go. Super fantastic. Blessings, John. Good to see you, my friend. Good to see you. Ari is in the house. Jose, any thoughts on 00? I already answered that. Motives. WF Capital in the house. What's going on, man? I really appreciate the gift. Hey, absolutely, man. Mike, Rob, what's your thoughts on Miriam now? Besides what it's been a great buying opportunity, I'm down big on it, but thinking about buying more. Yeah, you know what? I've been thinking about buying more myself, if I'm being honest with you, man. I really am. These prices are a steal, in my opinion. There she is, Gamma Goddess. Let's get this money. Absolutely. I think the crash has been the best thing for the market. Yeah, we flushed out all the weak hands, guys. Basically, all the sellers are gone at this point, right? Which is a good thing. All the sellers are gone. All the sellers had their temper tantrum over the weekend. They sold, they left. They'll FOMO back in when everything's pumping while we bought all of their fear. So that's bullish. Brother, can you check KTA if you have a few minutes? Thanks. I'll try later on, but I do have a lot of news to get through today. Dana, hey, hello everyone. I bought XCN, Cookie Swift, and Mog. Nice. There you go. Rob says, can the shutdown in the U.S. still strongly determine crypto this month? I don't think it's going to finish the month, to be honest with you. I think the government will be back up and running before the end of the month. How many likes do we have? Ari says, well, we have 217 people watching, and we have 93 likes, guys. Come on. Let's get the likes. Let's get those likes up. Clear Joy, LFG and Pico both will be listed at the same time. I'm not an exchange. I don't have the answer to that question. We're trying to get them both listed everywhere, but exchanges don't promise that they'll do that thing. Like, I can't promise exchanges say, oh, we're going to list them both at the exact same time, right? DH, Rob, I hear there was a similar crash in 2020 before the mega alt season. Your thoughts? Yeah. I mean, listen, I've harped on that many, many times. There was a 44% correction on Bitcoin in the 2020-2021 cycle, right? In the final year, there was a 44% correction in Bitcoin. 44, okay? Today's Bitcoin the Bitcoin correction we had on Friday was, I mean, it ended up bottoming, only being down 8.12%, 8.12%, right? So that's nothing. It was only in one daily candle, while the 44% correction was like over the course of like a week, I think, in 2020, but that's kind of irrelevant. The point is that we had a bigger crash in the 2020 final year of the cycle than we did this time. Aaron, shutdown likely ends after the... Yeah, I agree. Banders, is the YouTube membership video the same video from the Patreon? No. Martin, need some dry powder, but I've got 50,000 ZBEC, 50,000 Swift, and 15,000 Onyx during the crash. Nice. That is some nice accumulation, brother. I saw Kraken is listing ZBEC on Wednesday. I can finally add to my... Yes, exactly. That could be a nice little pump. Pico says, anybody seen Gary? Anybody seen Gare Bear? Okay, let's we're all caught up in the chat, guys. So let's start powering through some of this news. What's going on out there today? We got a lot of stuff to get through. Let's get into a clip first. All right, from Bitcoin Archives. Every time Bitcoin dips, I'm going to be a buyer.
I have one last question for you before I let you go. How rich are you? And how much of your net worth is in Bitcoin? Because if I don't ask you, everyone will be really mad at me.
If you took my stake in my public companies, which is public, and you did the public math, you'd see a couple of $1 billion.
Okay.
Okay. And then at least a couple of $1 billion. And then you'd have, what's Cantor worth? Yeah, I'm not saying. Okay. But things are good for me. How about that? Is that a nice way to say it? Since Cantor owns the stakes in the other companies, it's good for me. So, and I have
like the percentage. You don't have to say exact number, but like, how do you think about either you or Cantor?
I don't have a big enough percentage. I probably have, I can't say because then people can figure out that no, how much I have. I would say I have hundreds of millions of dollars.
Okay.
Okay. Hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars exposure to Bitcoin.
Wow.
And it will be billions.
I was going to say, so next year when you come back and we'll do this again and you'll be a Bitcoin billionaire and,
but you remember that model I told you. So if every time Bitcoin dips, I'm going to be the buyer. Right?
Trust me, I know why you're doing the lending.
It's all coming.
Listen, you don't have to explain that one around here.
So I got the 50% Bitcoin. I got the Bitcoin lending, but basically what you're going to see is Cantor Fitzgerald is going to be the sponsor of Bitcoin into traditional finance.
Mm-hmm.
And so we will be the leader of it. And I'll pull out this podcast in years to come and say, see, I told you, because no one's going to remember.
Yep. Smart man. Smart man. All right, let's keep it going. We got a lot of news to get through today, guys. Picos Rockets. There you go. Ty, look at ZBEC now. Yeah, it's up almost 3.5%. Will the Kraken listing for ZBEC have a pump and dump effect? I don't think so. I think it'll just be a gradual pump because more people will have access to it, so you'll have more liquidity. But I don't think so. Usually the pump and dump effect happens before the listing, but we're getting listed the day after tomorrow on Kraken, and ZBEC has not had a monster pump as a result. So that's a good thing. That's a good thing. Shows some stability, which means we could move up. But we might see a dump. If it dumps, I'm buying more. Eric says, thanks, Ramona. Sean, is Avantis a good buy? Was airdropped FUD a big deal? Yes, I do think it's a good buy, and you should never worry about FUD. Always, whenever you hear FUD about a project, take whatever topic the FUD is circulating around and go verify whether it's real or not, right? Because I'll tell you right now, I do that all the time. And probably 8 out of 10 times I do that, the FUD is made up. It's not real. It's fake. It's a fugazi. It doesn't exist, right? It's just some YouTuber or some person on X made it up, right? But I think that for today, the deep dive video that I'll do today will be on Avantis, guys. So keep an eye out for that video today. Andy, my guy, appreciate all the work you do for us, Rob. Best decision joining Crypto Future. Absolutely, brother. Absolutely. I hope you like that ZBEC dive I did for you yesterday, man. I saw you say do ZBEC, so I did. I got your back, brother. All right, let's keep it going. BitMine's strategic acquisition and Ethereum treasury. BitMine Emerson, led by Chairman Tom Lee, added 200,000 Ethereum, valued at approximately $828 million to its treasury amid an October 2025 market downturn, which was the dump that we just saw. The substantial acquisition emphasizes BitMine's strategic positioning in the crypto market, influencing Ethereum supply and illustrating institutional interest despite volatile conditions. BitMine Emerson has increased its Ethereum holdings by purchasing 202,037 Ethereum. This acquisition happened during the significant market downturn. The move aligns with the company's strategy of building the largest Ethereum treasury. So while some people were panicking, having temper tantrums, and being frustrated, Tom Lee and BitMine were buying up over 202,000 Ethereum. They were buying your fear. Led by Chairman Tom Lee, BitMine's strategy involves buying Ethereum at discount prices. The company now holds over 3 million Ethereum, exceeding 2.5% of Ethereum's total circulating supply. The purchase has reinforced Bitmain's status as a leading entity in crypto treasury. This move has shown resilience against economic instability. Institutional support from ARK Invest and others also play a crucial role. Financial implications include Bitmain's treasury expansion, now valued between 12.9 billion and 13.4 billion. The market observes substantial Ethereum withdrawals from major exchanges like Kraken, reflecting the company's strategic approach. Analysts view the acquisition as a bold step, emphasizing Bitmain's long-term commitment to Ethereum. Despite market volatility, this strategy highlights the confidence in Ethereum's potential. Large-scale acquisitions like this can impact Ethereum's prices positively, although regulatory pressures remain a consideration. Though right now we don't really have to take regulation policy into account because the government is shut down. So they're not going to do nothing. Eric bought some Taraxa on ETH. I noticed that if I swap Taraxa to USDT or ETH on Uniswap or Sushi, I would take a 30% loss due to low liquidity. Yeah, well, move it over to a different exchange. I would move it to a centralized exchange if possible. I'm pretty sure Taraxa has some decent exchanges. I only use like MetaMask and Uniswap if I absolutely have to, right? Maybe even, I don't know, maybe Phantom Wallet. Gamma says, Andy in the house. Absolutely, he is. Junior, hey, Rob, hope you're well. What do you think about this RWA play called Thoroa? Is connected to UAE, and a lot of billionaires backers would like to know your opinion. Yeah, someone asked me about that yesterday, too. Let me have a quick glance at it here. Ticker's TRWA. Yeah, someone asked me about this, I think yesterday or the day before. $48 million market cap. It's got fantastic tokenomics behind it. Yeah, decentralized finance, RWA. All-time high 2 months ago, 2 cents. And it's got some listings. It needs a little more listings, but it's got a good start. It's on, like, your decentralized exchanges, plus MEXE, Gate.io, LCX, LBank. We need like KuCoin and stuff like that. But yeah, I think this one's a winner. My friend. Absolutely. Benjamin, hey Rob, you think we will see some retrace or melt up this week? I think we're going to melt up this week, man, to be honest with you. Rise up. Let's get it, Patreon fam. Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Let's go. Let's freaking go. All right, let's get into a clip here from Squawk Box. We got a lot, guys. Holy smokes, we got a lot to get through today. Let's freaking go. There's a lot of reasons for investors to stay optimistic, says Fundstrat's Tom Lee. Speaking of Tom Lee himself.
It's bouncing back after Friday's drop. Joining us now, Tom Lee, head of research at Fundstrat Global Advisors and Fundstrat Capital CIO. Tom, just summarizing what your thoughts are this morning. I don't see a whole lot that has shaken your confidence that the market's headed up. You still see 7,000 on the S&P by year end. You do point out it's not cheap, up 36% since the April lows. You do outline some headwinds, but I think you're outlining more positives than negatives for the markets, even right now.
Yeah, in fact, I think JP Morgan's announcement today really ties into why investors should stay pretty constructive on the U.S. I mean, JP Morgan, the biggest and the most powerful bank in the world, is investing $1.5 trillion into the U.S., into things that are going to strengthen sort of U.S. advantages, critically important areas. And at a time when the U.S. is dominating AI, and of course now we have this big tailwind as blockchain is an initiative that Wall Street is building products on. So I think there's a lot of reasons for investors to stay optimistic. And I know there's a lot of talk about bubbles, but I think the thing I would just continue to point out is NVIDIA trades at around 27 times forward earnings. It's still on a PE basis cheaper than Walmart and Costco, which trade at around 47 and 34 times forward earnings.
Yeah, you've got positive reasons to think that earnings are going to do well in a time when interest rates are coming down. So that's just like an elixir for stocks that is very powerful.
That's right. And as you know, CEOs have not been that confident for the last 2.5 years because the Fed's been running tight monetary policy. The ISM's been below 50 for 31 months now. That's the longest stretch in history. I think the sell-off Friday is giving us a bit of a gift because that surge in the VIX, a 32% rise, is the 39th highest ever one-day surge. And the 1-month median return is almost 3%. Of the 38 other instances. So I think the S&P could add, 200 points between today and mid-November.
Still got, we're not overly positive in terms of sentiment right now, so that's not late cycle according to you at this point. And still a hated rally, $7 trillion on the sidelines if people decide they want to go into stock.
Yeah. I think conviction is a measure of whether or not the market is, pricing in too much good news. I think with Friday's sell-off, I saw many people calling the top of the markets or declaring that the bubble is bursting, or that, this is the reason to be buying gold. And if investors are that quick to call a top just on a 2.7% decline, I just think a lot of good news isn't really priced in. I think there's still a lot of reluctant investors on the sidelines.
I agree.
You have found a kind of everything's about crypto. You found a reason gold's up, and it's because of crypto. Not directly because of crypto, but you think the incremental buyer in gold there's gold-based stable coins, and people need to buy gold to back the stable coins. And that, you think that's enough to be up $92 all the way up to a new high?
Well, there is an interesting correlation we found, which is when I look at Tether's supply of dollars outstanding, it really started to rise about 3 months ago, and that corresponded with gold essentially going up every day. I'm not positive of this, but I think stablecoins, including Tether, may be one of the largest buyers of gold today.
That's perfect. So the people that have been bullish on gold for so long and bearish on crypto and Bitcoin, they're finally getting their big rally in gold, and it's because of the thing they hate so much, crypto and Bitcoin.
Yeah, that's right.
That's so funny.
Tether is proving to be a good meeting ground between Bitcoiners and gold people.
Tom, can you just explain, though, to the extent we can understand it, within at least the Bitcoin world, just how much leverage there is in that system? Because I think one of the things that we were looking at Friday was the possibility, at least, that some of that selling, or maybe even a lot of that selling, came from margin calls at that time.
Andrew, there's always been a lot of leverage in crypto. I think that the volatility and leverage is what has drawn people into that space, especially when you get outside of Bitcoin and Ethereum. Those two are generally not held on margin. I mean, there is some leverage with what they call perpetuals, but that's why they held up so well over the weekend. But this liquidation that was triggered over the last 3 days, the estimates are at least 19 billion of liquidations, but it's probably understated. It might be 4 times bigger. It's the largest since 2021. Essentially, you have to go back to FTX. I think there is a lot of leverage in the way people use this product called perpetuals, which is trading on margin, like 3x, 20x. And it lurks and it's held through collateral. People like sort of pledging something that thinks it's safe, but when the price of that collateral drops, it triggers a cascade. Right. And so I think people talk about this thing called auto deleveraging. So a lot of leverage, yes.
Ironic. Crypto is the reason gold is pumping. What else do we have? Big XRP news. Why XRP might be quietly positioning for a $12 shock. Let's get into it. The crypto market has pulled a surprise comeback. It started with 3 simple words from Donald Trump. It'll be fine. That reassurance posted on Truth Social helped cool off fears of an escalating trade war with China and set off a relief rally across risk assets. Stocks rebounded, Bitcoin reclaimed 114K, and XRP price, which had been under pressure for weeks, jumped nearly 5%. But while macro sentiment lit the spark, Ripple's latest move could be the real fuel behind XRP's next big leg up. Kat, I see you in the chat. How you doing? I missed you. Late last week, Trump rattled markets by threatening massive tariffs on China, tariffing a broad sell-off that wiped out over 800 points from the NASDAQ. But over the weekend, he shifted tone, insisting that it'll be fine, and even calling China's president highly respected. That small shift had big market consequences. The NASDAQ opened up 1.7%. The S&P 500 rose 1.3%, and Bitcoin rebounded from weekend lows. Gold broke a new all-time high above $4,100, confirming investors were repositioning fast. With risk-on sentiment returning, altcoins, especially those with strong fundamental catalysts, found themselves in the spotlight once again. XRP was one of the first to respond after a sharp sell-off last week that tested support near $2. The token climbed back above $2.56 on a 4.6% daily gain, signaling renewed buying pressure. But the move wasn't just about the market optimism. The real story is Ripple's latest strategic step, one that could redefine XRP's use case inside institutional DeFi. Just as the macro clouds began clearing, Ripple and ImmuFi dropped their own bombshell, a $200,000 attackathon designed to secure the upcoming XRPL lending protocol. This isn't a random bug bounty. It's the most public and transparent security audit Ripple has ever opened to a global white hat community. The initiative will run from October 27th to November 29th, giving researchers the chance to find vulnerabilities in the proposed lending protocol before it goes live. Ripple's goal is clear: ensure the XRPL lending layer is ironclad before it heads to the validator vote later this year. Here's why that matters. If approved, the protocol will bring native pooled lending and unwritten credit directly to the XRPL. That means institutions could use and repay loans without leaving the network, while investors could earn yield on idle assets, all under compliant, auditable infrastructure. RippleX head of product Jasmine Cooper summed it up best. Quote, "This initiative is about making sure the proposed lending protocol is thoroughly tested and resilient before launch. It's the kind of move that signals confidence, and one that positions the XRPL squarely within institutional DeFi's next phase." Ripple's decision to partner with ImmuFi wasn't random. ImmuFi is known for protecting over $180 billion in user funds and stopping more than $25 billion in potential exploits. By joining forces, Ripple isn't just strengthening its code, it's broadening a message to regulators, banks, and enterprises. Quote, "We're building DeFi that's safe enough for institutions." This is key because lending protocols are the backbone of decentralized finance. Ethereum has AVAIL. Solana has MarginFi. Now Ripple wants the XRPL to join the club, but with more compliance-friendly and credit-based models. That's where this $12 speculation starts to make sense. Once lending goes live, every transaction from collateral to yield could drive real demand for XRP as a base asset. That turns passive liquidity into active utility. something XRP's ecosystem has been missing since the early cross-border payment days. If XRP can close a daily candle above $2.80, that would confirm a short-term reversal and open the path to $3.20 to $3.60. Momentum is building, but volume confirmation is still required. A close above $3.20 would flip market structure back to bullish, setting the stage for a larger target. Let's be clear, $12 isn't tomorrow's target. It's a long-term ceiling if Ripple executes this DeFi expansion flawlessly. The roadmap looks something like this: Attackathon success, validator approval, and institutional adoption. At that point, XRP's price stops being a speculative token and becomes infrastructure. And in a full-blown bull market, when Bitcoin stays above six figures, an XRP rally towards $10 to $12 becomes not just possible, but mathematically supported by network demand. For me, we're probably talking about like next cycle, not this cycle. Of course, no setup is risk-free. If security researchers find serious flaws, the lending protocol vote could be delayed or derailed. A rejection from validators would immediately stall momentum. Additionally, XRP remains correlated with macro sentiment, meaning another tariff escalation or Fed surprise could drag it back under the $2.40 support. So, be patient, guys, right? For me personally, likely going to accumulate more XRP in the bottom of the next bear market. That's how I do, baby. That's how I do. President Trump's tariffs threats have become less and less impactful, says Wendy Cutler. Sure didn't feel that way over the weekend.
Warning, it is not afraid of a trade war with the U.S. after President Trump announced plans to impose 100% tariffs on Chinese imports and new export controls on critical software. However, the president also then softened his tone over the weekend, saying everything with China will be fine. Joining us right now is Asia Society Policy Institute Vice President Wendy Cutler. She's a former acting deputy U.S. trade representative. And let's start with both the comments we heard from the president on Friday and then the comments over the weekend. Obviously, the market seems to be taking those comments more than in stride. They're taking them very well. How do you take them?
Well, look, we're definitely in a period of tension with China. We've seen this pattern of escalation before. It seems that both sides are trying to de-escalate. But the question now is, will Trump and Xi meet on the margins of the APEC meeting? And if they do, what can they achieve at this point?
In terms, though, of where this all heads, this idea that the president says first he's going to put these big tariffs on, then says it's all going to be fine. If you're an official in China, President Xi or otherwise, you think what?
I'm feeling like I have a pretty strong hand if I'm in Beijing now. I think these tariff threats have become less and less impactful, and I don't think Beijing is taking them as seriously. And today's trade data coming out of China just underscores that Beijing is becoming less dependent on the U.S. market and exporting a lot more to the rest of the world. So again, I think China feels it has a strong hand, that the U.S. needs this meeting and needs stabilization more than China. And as a result, I think it overplayed its hand this past weekend.
So just to you, you're arguing you think that the U.S. has lost leverage here. I mean, Joe, you were just making a comment, I think, before. You think America has the leverage here.
I do. Yeah.
Well, I'm not saying America doesn't have leverage, but I think Beijing thinks, right or wrong, that it has the strong hand right now.
Okay, but explain why then you think Beijing does, and to the extent that you look at our economy right now, which seems to be doing quite well, and arguably their economy seems to be struggling on a relative basis, why, therefore, you'd make that argument?
Well, number one, the export data today shows that China is exporting to other markets and is becoming less dependent on the U.S. market. Second, I don't think they think that Trump is going to go through with these threats. particularly the tariff threat of 100% on November 1. He's done this before. He's backed off, not because of China, but because of domestic pressure. And let's be honest, food prices and other prices now are going up, putting the president in a more vulnerable position when it comes to raising tariffs.
In terms, though, of how this then plays out, to the extent that there are things that we still want from China, do we have a chance to get them?
Oh, absolutely. And I think both sides are posturing. Both sides are trying to find new areas of leverage. China, again, pushing critical minerals and magnets and soybeans. The U.S. not only threatening higher tariffs, but now threatening export controls on software to China. So I do think that some kind of stabilization deal is probably in the cards, and the odds are high that Xi and Trump will meet. But I think before that, we're going to need to see some communication between Secretary Bessent and his Chinese counterpart, the vice premier, to tee up this meeting.
Before we let you go, where do you think tariffs ultimately land between the U.S. and China on an average basis across the board? I mean, I think that's been the fundamental question that's been outstanding this entire time.
If I had to guess, I think it's around the 55% where we are now. Greer, the USTR, said about a week ago that rate seems about fine. And I have a hard time seeing how we have lower rates on China than other countries around the world. And remember, with some other countries, we're up to 20, 30, 40%.
Yep. This is one person's opinion, I guess. Export growth, even though China's trying to go to other places, export growth slowed in China in August, and some of these other countries they're exporting to now are already complaining that they're flooding the market. And then this individual, he's a professor, he says the strength of China's overall exports, despite U.S. tariff barriers, embolden Xi to take the risk of escalating, but it could backfire given China's persistently weak domestic consumption demand and investment, as well as other countries being swamped by China's export. I don't know. I'd give the advantage to the U.S. at this point, but who knows what happened. I mean, the throwdown, the gauntlet was that rare metals, the 0.1%. And I don't know, I'm not sure exactly how that comes off, but I don't think they can go through with that. We can't do anything without those rare metals, and we're not ready to, the baton has not been passed to domestic suppliers of rare metals yet.
Well, exactly. China, again, put in sweeping restrictions that are going to go into effect shortly. But again, I think that's more about using it as negotiating leverage. And they can delay imposition. They can come up with exceptions to how they would apply this. So there's room for negotiation here. It's just a lot of drama over the next 2 weeks, I believe.
Why'd they do it when tariffs, things were quiet on the tariff front, and they decided to do the rare metals?
Right, and I'm not justifying China's behavior here,
no,
but
I
in their
why.
view, they were responding to what they believe was a U.S. going back on its agreement with China, and that is when the U.S. at the end of September expanded export controls on a number of Chinese entities and subsidiaries of Chinese companies.
I like seeing the disagreements and the back and forth. Get into another piece here. Wendy, good morning over in Australia. How you doing, dear? Good to see you. Good to see you. Michael Saylor's strategy resumes Bitcoin purchases with $27 million buy. Now holds a mammoth 640,250 Bitcoin. Bitcoin Treasury giant strategy has resumed its relentless BTC buying on Monday after taking a week-long hiatus from accumulating the alpha cryptocurrency. Strategy now holds 640,250 Bitcoin worth around $73 billion after announcing its latest buy. For perspective, the stockpile represents more than 3% of Bitcoin's total 21 million supply. This has enabled Strategy to pad its lead as the largest corporate holder of Bitcoin. Strategy's average purchase price across its Bitcoin stockpile is $74,000 per Bitcoin, representing roughly $26 billion in unrealized gains. Strategy's latest Bitcoin purchase continued to trend of modest acquisitions, underscoring a slowdown compared with huge purchases seen earlier this year. The Tysons Corner, Virginia company, formerly known as MicroStrategy, said it acquired 220 Bitcoin for approximately $27.2 million between October 6th and October 12th, at an average cost of $123,561. According to an October 1st, so they bought it just before the dump. Oof, that sucks. That's bad timing. The latest buy came as Bitcoin smashed a fresh historic high above $126,080 on October 6th before plummeting to $109,800 during the weekend's massive crypto flash crash, according to data from CoinGecko. Strategy Executive Chairman Michael Saylor teased the purchase announcement once again on Sunday, as he often does every single Sunday before they buy. The latest acquisitions were made using proceeds from from at the market sales of its Perpetual Strike preferred stock, STRK, Perpetual Strife preferred stock, STRF, and Perpetual Strike. Okay. The cash came from selling $19.8 million worth of its STRF offering. At the same time, Strategy sold $1.7 million of its STRK offering and $5.8 million worth of its STRD offering. Featuring a 10% fixed non-cumulative annual dividend, STRD was introduced as Strategy's third type of preferred shares in June. Jared, I almost missed the live, catching an hour power nap. Nice. Stay blessed, Patreon fam. There you go, brother. There you go. Yes, so Strategy scooping up more Bitcoin. And guess what, guys? We just don't stop. We're going. We're still going. We got more from Squawk Box today. Bitcoin still isn't a good diversifier. Got short-term risk, says Wharton's Jeremy Siegel.
Back to Squawk Box. There you can see the futures getting about half of what they lost, what the markets lost on Friday. For more on those markets, let's bring in Jeremy Siegel, chief economist at Wisdom Tree and professor emeritus of finance at University of Pennsylvania's Wharton School of Business. We've seen some of this movie before, deja vu all over again. China, trade tensions, etc. Professor, more to it this time? Could this get out of hand, or do you think we're going to see a similar response 2-3 weeks from now? We'll be talking about new highs again.
Yeah, and good to see you, Joe. First of all, you talked about the strategic petroleum reserve in the last one of the last segments. I think it's scandalous that we don't have a rare earths strategic reserve, that we let China, monopolize 90% of the refining of rare earth materials. Where were we? Realizing the importance of these. The JP Morgan investment in rare earths, we need a strategic reserve of these rare earth materials. And I mean, as we look back,
idea.
China has used this as a threat for a long time. In fact, 12 years ago, I think they actually stopped rare earth shipments to Japan in a disagreement that had to be resolved. So we should have been on warning on this situation. I think it's going to be resolved. I think that they're going to, that's their salvo to come to the table. Trump has said 100%, but he said, listen, I said a November 1st date, for which for me is like forever in the future. It's actually the furthest date he's ever, I think, set for the start of a tariffs, which means he wants to have that solved, I think. And so I do think it's going to be resolved. I think the Chinese have been very good negotiators, being put in a very difficult position, but I think they've been skillful here, but I do think it's going to be worked out.
It'll be worked out, and it won't be too negative for either country. You
I mean,
figure.
I think they want. They say, why are we 25? I don't know what the exact average is right now with their tariffs. Some of the countries around them have, been less, and they're gonna try to negotiate that down from the level that they now have. And I think it's just a prelude to, saying, all right, these are our chips. We've got cards. You've got cards. Let's sit down and negotiate these. So, I think that this is not going to be a permanent situation. And, once it's resolved, given all the other good things that are happening, I see no reason why we can't continue on to new highs. I do say when we talked about Bitcoin, I mean, it was sort of interesting with Tom Lee. Bitcoin was not a good risk diversifier in that shock. And gold held up. Treasuries actually went up at that point. If you're into a short run diversifier to risk, and Bitcoin has a lot of positive features to it, but I think, when we took a look there, I said, my God, that's down 3 times as much as the market. It will snap back. But for people who are thinking about what's good to diversify for short-term risk, Bitcoin still is not there.
Well, gold's been going up when the market goes up and when the market goes down. So that's not
and
typical
Bitcoin
of gold.
has not. So, we talk about diversifying asset classes, it takes a shock like we saw to really decide, well, which one is the diversifying asset class? And as I said, for all the pluses of Bitcoin and crypto, it still isn't there as a true risk diversifier for this sort of geopolitical and trade risk.
Well, the government shutdown would seem to me that I don't know whether you ever really see a GDP effect or at least corporate earnings effect, but certainly it cools the economy a little, and it cools the inflation expectations. So I would figure that just keeps the Fed on the same track to lower rates. So I don't even see it necessarily as a negative.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we're going to get. Yeah, I mean, first of all, we're going to get Powell tomorrow. And remember, when Powell doesn't say, the market is expecting a cut on October 29th. And by the way, I don't think it's a coincidence that the CPI, which is being delayed, is coming out on the 26th. Yeah. So the Fed will have that CPI data. I think it's going to be pretty favorable. Remember, Powell doesn't ever like to surprise the market. If the market, which now thinks 80 to 90%, there's going to be a cut at the end of this month, if he doesn't say anything contrary, doesn't really matter whether he's a little hawkish, a little not. If he doesn't really push against that, that means he's going along with that cut. But clearly that, September 26th CPI is going to be like one of the only pieces of price data that he's going to have, although we do reconstruct those weekly jobless claims, so we will have a couple more of those. But so his talks and the CPI are going to be telling, but I think a cut is definitely in the cards on the 29th.
We are in for some volatility, guys, in the markets. Think about it. We have a 98% chance of a rate cut at the end of the month, which is going to be, it's going to affect the markets because there's so much uncertainty right now. I personally don't think that rate cut's priced in right now. Right? I think we were starting to price it in, and then the market crashed due to manipulation. So I think we got to reprice in that rate cut still. Plus, the jobs numbers. We have no idea what the jobs numbers are. Those could be a big catalyst, either to the upside or the downside. Right? So it's a big question mark. There's a lot of question marks right now. Kaiser, what's up, man? God bless you too. God bless you too. Wendy says smash the likes on the way in. Rob, when do you see alt season taking place? I've said this 100 times. I think Bitcoin's going to top sometime close to the end of November, maybe the middle of December, which is going to lead altcoin season into maybe late January to mid-February, maybe, but something like that. Crypto quant analyst explains Bitcoin's proprietary indicator is sending a buy signal, also foreshadowed Friday's drop. The cryptocurrency market plummeted after U.S. President Trump threatened to raise tariffs on China 100%. Bitcoin fell to $102,000, while Ethereum fell to $3,400 following the subsequent recovery. Analysts noted that Binance's Bitcoin Leverage Pulse (BBLP) indicator had entered a low-risk zone of 0.82 and signaled a buy signal. CryptoQuant analyst with the synonym crypto crazy block said in his analysis that the proprietary leverage analysis indicator Binance BTC Leverage Pulse, which detected the market overheating just before a sharp crash in Bitcoin, has returned to the low risk zone and issued a buy signal. The analyst said that the BBLP indicator stands out in the short term with an overheated leverage ratio according to the 2023 to 2025 data. Citing this as an example, the analyst noted that generally when the ratio reaches 1.4, price corrections occur within 57% of the time. So when it reaches 1.4, it corrects to the downside 57% of the time. Okay, with the volatility more than doubling within 30 days. Conversely, when BBLP entered the low-risk zone, there was an average recovery of 12%. At this point, the analyst said that the BBLP indicator had crossed 1.42 ratio, signaling market overheating ahead of Friday's massive billion-dollar liquidation. So we are seeing signals that it is time to start buying. Again, not financial advice. You do you, boo-boo. Steve, he's wrong in my opinion. What's considered short-term to you guys? A whole shorted, whale shorted, bro. He released the trade details. Yeah, I agree with you there. Myrdad, what's up, buddy? God, I love this group. Absolutely, brother. Absolutely. Expect one more move higher in the S&P into year end, says Chris Verone. Verone?
S&P futures up by about 80, and joining us to talk about it is Chris Verone, the chief market strategist at Strategas Research Partners. Chris, let's start with Friday's action. We just saw it on the screen, and it was a little scary for people who were following along at home. What happened, and where are we this morning with these gains in the futures?
Bit of a wake-up call. You know, if you look at this market, frankly, under the surface, it's been pretty tired for 3 or 4 weeks going into this. It could have been anything. It happened to be the China tweet, but I don't want to lose sight of the bigger picture. They're just.
You say tired, the market was setting new highs every day. What makes?
Yeah, when you look under the surface, I mean, we were only operating with about 50% of stocks above their 50-day average, so you started to see some lethargy show up over the last 3 or 4 weeks, but when you look at kind of the big building block, which have been tenet to our call, there really wasn't a lot meaningfully wrong. Cyclicals were still better than defensives. Credit conditions were benign. Banks were largely still involved. So I think you have to give this market the benefit of any doubt here. I don't know if yesterday or Friday was one and done, but 6,400, 6,450 is good support. I would still expect we make one more move here higher into year end.
So 6,400, you think one more move higher, what, a couple hundred basis points from here to 65?
Yeah, so 7,000 is kind of what we're still looking at here for year-end 25. I do wonder if 26, if you're starting to set up for maybe a more defensive tone to take shape. We've already seen healthcare start to inflect here. I think the question is, does that bleed into the other defensive corners of the market? So far, you've gotten nothing from staples, really nothing from REITs, and the move in UTs, I think, as we would all concede, is primarily power or electricity driven. So I think the big question into 26 is, do you start to see some shift to the macro, which bleeds into leadership and gets you a more defensive profile in the months ahead?
The reason the market sold off on Friday was because of the president's comments about China and the potential trade war stepping up again, 100% tariffs as of November 1st. It was the worst day for several of the major averages since that April day when the president announced those tariffs to begin with. How much of this is macro driven and how much of this is based on what you're actually hearing from companies? We're heading into earnings season. Are we going to hear things that justify the valuations at these levels?
Well, I would answer it from the perspective of what has the market told us about its own perception of the economy. I mean, discretionary has been better than staples, cyclicals have been better than defensive. So if we're going to use the market's interpretation of what the macro and the companies are telling us, I still think conditions are generally in pretty good shape. Credit spreads are 4 or 5 days off their tights. So you haven't really seen anything preceding this that would suggest the market was getting particularly worried about the economy. I do think, Becky, the big question is probably rates. I mean, all year the consensus has been worried about rates up. Right. We've been on the other side. Our story has been actually, is there some level lower where bond yields actually start to signal the economy may be weakening in a big way? 385 was the low in 10-year yields back in April. I think that's the level people have to keep in mind. Under 385 on 10s, you sit here and you just begin to wonder, what is the messaging on the economy into 26?
Now, you do have some big tailwinds, though, coming from policy actions, the one big beautiful bill. You've got deregulatory moves. How much of that gets baked into this? Because, again, we go back and forth between what's happening on the macro level and what's happening from company specific.
So you have that, plus you have what should be the stimulus of lower yields and lower oil. I mean, oil's at 59 and change this morning. Gasoline futures actually made new lows. So it's up for the stocks to respond to that. I think the most interesting thing in this business is when things don't respond as they should. So I have stimulus into the spring. I have lower rates. I have lower oil. I'd like to see consumer stocks really respond to that coming in to first half, or certainly first quarter of 26. So the information may be if they don't.
Well, I guess you're, again, looking at these inputs, lower oil prices, lower rates, and trying to figure out why they're lower. What do you ascribe to oil below $60?
Well, I think when you kind of hit on the whole story, there's this massive deregulatory push across all industries here. You see it in banks. I think you see it in energy. I don't think it's a coincidence energy stocks were not particularly good in Trump 1.0. They haven't been especially good here in Trump 2.0. When you look at the financials in particular, I mean, the banks have been leadership here for 2 years. So if the broader story is really going to change, I would suspect we'd have to lose financials here. There's not a ton of evidence of that yet. There is some weakness in the private capital stocks, Apollo and AVAIL and that group of names. But let's remember, if we're going to deregulatory the money center banks, right, if that's where the deregulation is coming from, who has market share to give? I think the private capital names have market share to give. I think the money center banks have market share to take. Apollo underperforming, say, Bank of America has been a very important theme for us.
Short it all. Okay, let's go back and look over at Bitcoin. What's Bitcoin doing? Bitcoin's trying to climb. Let's have a looky-loo. All right, so Bitcoin shot back up almost to the 30-day. We're sitting above the 100-day right now at 115,511. What we want to see, guys, is a break above the 30-day, sitting at $116,211. We want to break above there. We want to close above there. Kaiser, hang out with Rob long enough, and you start to get excited about those drops instead of panicking. Yeah, we rewire the brain. Absolutely. Ali, 116K comments can be a great week. I agree. Jake, XCN is a big tease. Yeah, she's a tease, but you know what? When she gives it up nicely. So, all right, guys, I got a coaching call to get to over on the Patreon. Make sure you get over there. You got the QR code up in the top right corner. If you want to join our trading group. I did just drop a new trading video today. I drop one every single day over there. You can book your one-on-one coaching calls over there as well. Make sure you hit the like on the way in and out. We got to get to 200 likes. Again, the link to the Patreon is also in the chat. It's in the pinned comments. It's in the description. The QR code at the top of your screen. Join today, book your coaching calls, join our trading group, check out our trading videos, and all of our training courses are free to our Patreon members. So check it all out and more, guys. Click like if you like this video. Click subscribe if you really liked it. See you guys in the next one. God bless.